You're listening to Hot Success Secrets at hotsuccesssecrets.com with your hosts, Heather Vale Goss and Dr. Steve G. Jones.
I'm Heather Vale Goss.
And I'm Dr. Steve G. Jones.
And today we're talking about promoting yourself as an expert.
All right.
Now, Steve, you're pretty good at that. You have promoted yourself as an expert and you have a lot of fans.
Right, yes.
So you must have some secrets you can share.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're secrets, but they're helpful things. And
Okay.
let's take the things that may be secret to make them non-secrets.
Okay, yeah, because I like unwrapping secrets.
Let's do that. Well, I think the main thing that I've discovered is, everybody, it seems at some point when they're trying to figure out who they want to be when they grow up or what they want to be, they want to be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker.
No, they don't.
Well, not exactly that, but
Okay.
except for me. That's what I want to be. But
You want to be a candlestick maker?
butcher, baker, and candlestick maker.
Oh, okay, all of it.
But when I lived in Los Angeles, I'd meet people who were, actor, producer, writer. Of course, they were really...
Yeah, triple threat.
Right, except
Yeah.
really they were a waiter or a waitress.
Yeah.
And so they would, on their card even, they'd have these cards made up. It said actor, producer, writer. They were none of those things. They wanted to be those things. But the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to streamline. For example, I promote myself as a clinical hypnotherapist. But I also do life coaching, business coaching, all these other things. So in my opinion, the best way to promote yourself as an expert is to pick one identity and make everything else a sub-identity under that umbrella.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's a few things to think about there, though. There's the aspect of promoting yourself, but there's also that metaphysical concept of acting as if. So maybe these people who wanted to be an actor, wanted to be a producer, were going through that act as if process, hoping that eventually they would become that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I think that sometimes if you don't know, it's kind of like college, the college idea. Your first 2 years, you take the general distribution.
And then you figure out what you want to specialize in.
Yeah, whatever you don't fail, you might actually be good at. So, so the next 2 years, theoretically, you focus on what you didn't fail. And then you become that. And if you really like it, you go to graduate school. So that's fine for someone just starting out. But if someone's been saying they're an actor, writer, producer for 10 years or so, and especially if they're none of the above, it's more powerful, in my opinion, to pick an identity, just to say, this is, and then, act as if. If they say, okay, I'm a writer, and they haven't really written much, and nothing's gotten picked up, well, so what? Go for it. Just put it out there, and you start believing it, the world starts believing it, next thing you know, it's true. But you also have to do the work. You have to actually write.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I primarily promote myself as a journalist. And then under that umbrella, there's a subset of producer, there's host, there's interviewer, there's writer. So I'm kind of doing that too. And it's just easier, I think, to put one umbrella label on it. And then people can ask if they want to know. Well, what does that mean? Usually, though, when I say journalist, they say, well, what newspaper do you write for? It's 2014. They're still asking me what newspaper I write for.
You don't write for a newspaper?
I don't write for a newspaper. I have written for newspapers.
What newspaper?
The Toronto Star, but that was 20 years ago.
Okay.
Well, 15. Somewhere in there.
I remember that article. It was about how to promote yourself as an expert.
Yeah, yeah. And I had some articles in some other papers in Canada as well, but as a freelancer. But the point is, journalist does cover all of that.
Right.
It's just confusing to people. So I play with it, actually. But what I found is even more important is the branding aspect. So, we're all out there in social media. We all have websites, or should have a website. And it's pretty consistent to keep... It's important to keep a consistent brand message, I think. So, you don't want to... For example, I'm promoting myself as a journalist, but it's more of an entertainment journalist, more of a personal development journalist, an internet marketing journalist. So I have some ability to play with that. If I was trying to promote myself as a serious news journalist, I wouldn't put out some of the pictures that I do now of me hanging out with rock stars and having fun. That fits with my branding as it is now. It would not fit if I wanted to be a news anchor on NBC.
That's a good point. Now, here's an interesting thing. There's a millionaire who, what's his name? His last name's Bill Zarian. I forget his first name. You know the guy?
I don't know him.
Okay, well, his father was a it was involved in some kind of money-making ideas and got in a little bit of trouble, but he did pass on some wealth to his son and his 2 sons.
Some wealth in terms of money or information?
Money.
Okay.
Money. Dan Bilzerian, that's the guy.
Okay.
And he has a brother named Alex. And Dan, who's a Sagittarius, by the way. Like
okay,
myself.
good to know.
Yes.
All right.
Important to know. Dan has become a professional poker player.
Huh.
And he recently released a video of himself. He has this bad boy image. So he'll be in California partying with models who don't have clothes on. And he'll take a picture of himself, of his suitcase full of cash and a gun, and he's going to Vegas.
Okay.
You know, he's going to gamble, and goodness knows what he's going to do with the cash and the gun. He puts these out on Instagram. Huh. You know, apparently you can put a video on Instagram.
Yeah, a short one.
And and when he threw the model off the roof of his house, she did break her foot. Huh. Now, this seems to me like a little bit of, reaching out for media and stuff like that. And I did look him up, and he does reach out for media every now and then. But when you think about something like that, he's promoting himself as a professional poker player.
Yeah.
So you think, what do people think about when they think of poker player? They probably think of the bad boy. You know, maybe he's a renegade. Maybe he's got all this cash and a gun, and he hangs out with these models, and he's a little risky. He throws them off the roof. So it's interesting. My point is, it's interesting to think about when you promote yourself as an expert under certain types of experts. It's interesting how you actually go about promoting yourself. Like, he's a professional poker player. Well, he could just have pictures of, here's me playing poker, here's me winning. But what do people think about when they think of a poker player? They think about the greater picture. Ooh, he's probably a risk taker, a gambler. So for him, that works out really well.
Yeah, that kind of overlaps into what a lot of the internet marketers do, or at least a few years ago it was really popular to do the lifestyle marketing. So it would be the guy with the convertible, the guy with the sexy women, the guy with all the money. And it was kind of the big house. And it's like, look what I have. Yeah. And I'll teach you how you can get all this stuff too.
Right.
The problem comes when that's not authentic.
Yeah.
And I think more and more with social media, I think people are able to see through that.
Yeah, they can look for consistencies or lack thereof. I remember when I was on The Millionaire Matchmaker, they came and filmed my house and my car, and they actually filmed the real stuff. They wanted to film the real stuff. But then it almost created a challenge for me, like, because I've read the book The Millionaire Next Door, and that strongly influenced my life. That's a book about being frugal, not about living extravagantly and spending a lot. So in my everyday life, I really don't spend a lot of money. I really don't, buy, 5 cars. I have 1 car. It's a good car. It's a Mercedes, but I just have 1 car. Yeah. I don't have 5 houses. I don't get all these things. So it can almost become a trap at some point because, they start looking for this. So I never played into that. I never followed up with that and thought, oh, yeah, I should be doing these things. And I'm not, so I'm going to start. So a lot of that was expected of me then on social media. Like, where is all this stuff? Where are the 5 cars and whatever? And so, but I stuck to my guns. I stuck to the idea that, the really wealthy people of this world are people who are just like you and I. We know the value of $1, and we know when we buy something, we want it to be quality, and we don't waste money.
Right. Yeah. So I guess another aspect of promoting yourself as an expert is the content you put out there. Because if you're going to be an expert, you're going to be creating content. You're going to be teaching what you know, or you're not an expert. Or there's no point in being an expert. Yeah. I mean, you can be an expert and just keep it to yourself. But the whole point is to share your knowledge with the world. So then it becomes really important to put out, in my opinion, quality content and consistent content that goes with your image as an expert. Yep. So if you're an expert poker player, you should have a book on how to win poker. You should have a book on maybe how to read people's poker faces. Yep. You should be helping people. Put out videos, put out audios, put out ebooks, whatever you can, blogs, and on social media as well. Post on social media. And not just promote. Here's my post, here's my post, here's my post. These days with the social media, it needs to be mixed in with that lifestyle. Here I am hanging out. Here I am having fun. Here's what I do with my friends.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. And I'm very careful, as you know, with my social media because there's certain, things that I do. I don't do illegal things or anything like that, but I want to maintain a private life. I want to maintain, if I go certain places and do certain things, I don't want all of it in social media.
That's actually a very good point. I know a social media expert, and I asked her about this, and she said there's a line that she draws between personal and private. So we all share the business stuff. And then, we're looking for that business-personal balance. How much business do we share? How much personal do we share? People tend to like the personal. But there's a third line drawn between personal and private.
So private is the stuff that you don't share on social media.
So personal could be you and I hanging out. We're friends. Here we are having fun at MGM Grand or New York, whatever. But you don't want to show intimate details of your private life with somebody, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Some people do, and that's part of their social media. Some people who have they're putting themselves out there as crazy or living on the edge. That'd be appropriate. But for most experts, they're playing it pretty straight. They're the expert on whatever they're doing. That's how the world wants to perceive them. That's what they want. So they show things related to that. So yeah, you should be very careful, but you should also be consistent. You should always be putting stuff out.
Yeah.
I post stuff all the time in social media, or I have someone post stuff in social media just to keep it fresh. And if there's ever a lag, we get something out there, we make sure something's going on, a picture of me doing something somewhere.
Yeah. And it doesn't always have to be just creating stuff. Like I get behind on my own personal blog because I'm so busy doing other stuff, but all the freelance work that I do, the interviews I do for clients, the writing that I do for clients, that all becomes part of my promotion too. Because when I put that on social media, it's just the same as if I wrote it myself. I did write it myself, but it's for somebody else, so it's like double promotion.
Yeah, absolutely. Always get the most you can out of it. Like this, for example, we're doing a podcast. We can also make this into a video, even though there's no video of it. We just put a picture of us and put it on YouTube so people can listen to it there. And goodness knows what social media app will come up in the future that we can use it on.
Yeah.
So getting it out as many places. Let's see. Also, under promoting yourself as an expert, you brought up the idea of putting stuff out there. I always say experts write books. So if you're an expert in something, you should write a book about it, create a program about it. Mm-hmm. People want to buy stuff from you because they want to be like you. They want to be, in my case, they want to be hypnotherapists. In your case, they want to be a journalist. They want to know how they can monetize that. Yeah. They want this information. So people should not hold back from both putting it out there and asking for money for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So you put out some free stuff, and then you ask for money for
the
other
premium
stuff. Yeah, and the premium stuff is well worth it because there's an ROI, there's a return on investment. If you learn to do what you and I do, then you learn how to ultimately make money from it. And so that investment of $19.95 or whatever it costs you for the program is going to come back many, many fold during your lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was some great information on promoting yourself as an expert. I think we covered all the bases there.
Yeah, got all the basic bases down. Get yourself out there, promote stuff.
Create stuff. Be consistent with your branding.
Yeah, don't hesitate to ask for money for more information because, if people want to be like you and tap into all your years of experience, just like an attorney will charge for their time. You know, so you should charge for your time. You're sharing with them how to solve their challenges, and most of the time their challenges have to do with not having any money coming in or not having an identity. So if they want to be like you and you can teach them how to do that, charge for it.
Absolutely. So check us out on hotsuccesssecrets.com. We've got more podcasts there and some interviews with experts. I'm Heather Vale.
And I'm Dr. Steve G. Jones.
Thank you for listening to Hot Success Secrets with Heather Vale and Dr. Steve G. Jones. For more free audios and videos, go to hotsuccesssecrets.com.